Grand? What do I say? I don't say Grand
Sorry?
Prix. I say Grand Prix. God, now I'm second guessing how to pronounce that word.
And I can't help you,
Grand Prix.
honestly.
Why does it sound so strange saying Grand? How do you pronounce it?
Grand
Grand
Prix.
Prix. What?
Oh no, I'm second guessing it now. Grand.
Wait, because I hate when this happens. When you say a word and I'm like, wait, I don't think I pronounced it that way.
All right, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Pole to Podium. I'm Junior.
And I'm Lily.
How are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm doing well. We just came off of an exciting race that both of us watched live. So I'm looking forward to diving into that discussion today. How are you?
I'm good as well. As you said, straight off an exciting race at Imola. We had Max Verstappen winning his second race of the season, snatching P1 from Oscar on the first corner, basically sending it on the outside. What was your reaction seeing that?
It happened so fast. And honestly, I kind of felt like Oscar didn't really fight him, which is surprising considering like Oscar's been in fight mode for all the previous races. So I definitely was so surprised that he just kind of conceded the position to Max and then ultimately gave Max the race like in that first corner.
Yes, Oscar's a quick learner, right? So to see, as you said, he didn't fight Max that much. I think Max really studied Oscar, and actually he planned that move into turn one. But honestly, congrats to Max on that win. The race was very interesting, I should say, as Imola doesn't tend to have too much overtaking because it's such a narrow track. But I think we got we got some action that I was satisfied with. And just to run through the results really quickly, so we had Max Verstappen finishing first, followed by Lando, Oscar, Lewis in fourth, a very close fourth,
Woo! So close.
and Alex Albon running off the top five. Lewis in fourth, he was on a track to hunt down Oscar. I think if we had two more laps, I think Lewis would have gotten him. I know you would have loved to see that, Lily.
I would have. Now, do I 100% agree with that? I don't know. But it is, I mean, I think it's a fair position because like Lewis did have the newer tires than Oscar and he was so close. But I just can't say with like certainty that Oscar would have let Lewis pass him.
Yeah, I know. I
I
mean,
don't think Oscar, I think whatever gritty, dirty tires Oscar had, he would have ridden those tires into third
no,
position. I don't think he was going to let Lewis get in front of him if there
nah.
were another two laps.
Times I was paying attention to the lap times so closely because I wanted to see if Lando would have closed on Max, but Max was just pumping in faster lap times after faster lap times. I think Lewis will be very motivated going into next weekend because we're on a triple header at the moment. So next race will be the Monaco Grand
Monaco,
Prix.
yeah.
Yeah. So Charles going back home. He won last year at home for the first time. Ferrari coming off a home race. It's a Italian team. Not getting the results I'm sure that they wanted and what the drivers would want. So
Wait,
going in.
can I actually pause you there?
Yep.
Because I feel like this is probably better than what they thought they were gonna get. Don't you agree? Like
For
at
sure.
qualifying, Lewis was in 12th, Charles was in 11th, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't like they started off the race in like tip top shape. Considering like what you said earlier about how Imola is a narrow track, it doesn't always give room for like overtaking. So for Lewis to make up 8 positions, I think that that's probably way more than what Ferrari expected they
Oh
were gonna
yes,
get.
for sure. I mean, they did have a lot of fortune. The virtual safety car did help Lewis a lot, and the safety car at the end allowed him to pit onto the fresher tires. But I agree with you 100%. They After after qualifying yesterday, they couldn't ask for a better result.
Yeah. And you know what? I think at this point, Lewis getting in fourth, yes, it gives him points, like it gives the team points, but I also feel like it's the morale boost that I think Lewis often needs to see that okay, like I'm working hard and like the results are showing, because like listening to his pre-race and even post qualifying interviews, he always has like a tinge of like pessimism that I just hate coming from Lewis because he's so like in general, like I think he's a really positive person. So now that he actually does have like fourth under his belt and is in this particular race was ahead of Charles, I feel like the morale is going to be a good boost for him for Monaco.
Yes, and we're going back to another track, Monaco, which is basically a procession.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Monaco's like a graveyard. Like
yes, it's
the
a
amount of cars that get ripped apart on that street circuit is insane.
overall Imola. Out of 5 out of 5, I'll definitely give it a 4. How about you?
I am gonna give it higher than that. I'm gonna give it a 4.5
Oh, it's a 5?
because out of five, that's right.
Wow.
And this is why. So I am a Lewis Hamilton fan for sure. So seeing him like overtake, get to where he was, of course, brings it to like a high point for me. But also, I love Williams. I'm a big fan of Alex and Carlos. And I also love seeing rookies shine. And even though Kimmy kind of had to end the race early. Isaac, who drives for Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, he had a pretty great race. I mean, up until maybe the second the second safety car, I think that he was like pretty much hosting and he just had to keep a few people behind him, but like he had a pretty great race. So that's one of the reasons why I'm giving it like such a high scoring too, is because a lot of the people that I am rooting for had successful races and maintained their lead. Maybe up until like the last moment, they kind of lost it here and there, but it was exciting for those of us who also follow other like mid-range teams.
For sure. And I think, as you mentioned, Isaac, he so far to me he is the rookie of the year. Up
What?
to this point.
Not Kimmy?
Oh no no.
Oh, that's
if you
interesting.
look at I mean Kimi is in technically probably the top 3 fastest cars, so I have to look at that as well. But you look at where Isaac is doing basically to Liam, and also compare Isaac to the other Red Bull car of Yuki. Isaac
Okay.
is clearly driving for that second Red Bull seat next year, I say.
Okay.
So he's definitely rookie of the year to me so far. Of course it's still early, but for sure.
The way that you presented that, I hear you. I feel like that's a very strong case for Isaac getting Rookie of the Year. But I also want to bring it back to Isaac's very first race where he didn't even start because he had spun out for rain. I think that was the case at where was it in Australia,
Yeah, he crashed on the grid.
and I remember Helmut Marko made such like unsavory comments about Isaac being emotional and crying after crashing out. So seeing Isaac do better than all of the other Red Bull drivers, with the exception of Max, is so satisfying. Because I just think that Helmut Marko, he needs to eat his words, and he's like paying for it right now. So that's the one thing that I wanted to get off my chest before we move on from Isaac.
Get it
Isaac,
off, get it off.
rub your points in Helmut Marko's face.
Yeah, Isaac is going to be a star in the future for sure. So going back to the start of, well, some earlier races, I would say. We had Australia, the Shanghai Grand Prix. We have the Japanese Grand Prix, Bahrain, Saudi, Miami, Tell me what are some of your standouts from the season so far?
Okay, so definite standout is when Lewis won sprint. And I promise this might be the last time that I bring up Lewis for the episode because it's already
this
been
might
so Lewis heavy.
this
But
might be a Lewis episode, right?
this is a very Lewis heavy episode. But you know what? Like we have to talk about it because that was a historic moment. Seeing the light in his eyes, seeing his father celebrating him, I was like, that was such. It was just so touching and moving. I also would love to talk about Yuki and Liam switching. That happened. Well, it took effect for the Japanese Grand Prix, which meant that Liam's last race in the Red Bull seat was the Shanghai race. And that, to me, was such a ridiculous swap. And I think then set a nasty precedent for what came later when just recently Jack Doohan lost his seat to Franco Colapinto. So I think that'd be interesting to kind of like touch on what your thoughts were about it. You know, seeing now that we've had four races since Liam and Yuki swapped. Do we think that, it made a difference? Do we think that Red Bull saw something at the time that we didn't see? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think as well that decision. Well, of course, it was a very like controversial decision. I think any driver, honestly, should be given more than two races to prove themselves. It's I mean, of course, it's a very competitive sport. You have a lot of drivers vying for a limited amount of seats, but two races was definitely not um enough. Now, to say how Yuki is performing so far, it's basically the same as me trying to judge Liam, for his short stint at Red Bull. First of all, Red Bull should Yuki should have been in the seat from the start of the season. He should have
Let's talk
gotten
about that because that's the real story, actually.
uh, he should have gotten the time to test in McLaren to get under the car, understand it more. So that was wasted. So it's hard for me to say that was a bad move or it was a good move. I will wait. I would wait for a little bit more in the season to come to see how Yuki does. I like Yuki, so I'm actually rooting for Yuki to do well. I want him to do well. And take removing him right before the third race of the season. It was the Japanese Grand Prix, so that was probably some, I guess, influence as well to do it quicker. But I think drivers should be given more than two races to prove themselves. And that goes straight into another, I guess, both of our predictions from earlier in the season. That video isn't up, but we both predicted any driver to lose their seats would have been Franco. Didn't you? I'm sorry,
Jack.
would have been Jack. Right. And I guess that's the prediction that every I guess F1 podcaster would have gotten correct, or any F1 fan.
Well,
Jack losing his seat.
I just think, okay, I know you won't go on the record and say Red Bull made a bad decision, but I will. Even though I think this is a nuanced conversation, right? Because I think Yuki should have had the seat to begin with. That made sense that Yuki was already in their driver development program. He was already at the junior team and he was producing results with the junior team. So it made sense for Yuki to move directly into Perez's seat. When that didn't happen and they brought in this like knucklehead Liam, I'm like, okay, fine, let's
Wow.
see.
Wow.
However, no, I'm gonna call him a knucklehead because if you've watched Drive to Survive, he was talking big shit about Perez when Perez was in that
No,
cursed seat.
no, I
And then
didn't
he
watch
got into the
Tricycle.
cursed seat and he couldn't do any better. So let me bring it back to the point because I just got a little heated for a second. The point is, if you put a new driver in a seat and you take this risk, you have to like also take on the development side of it. I mean, yes, Liam had like a very little amount of experience as a reserve driver, but like he needed to have more time, more guidance, more experience to hopefully do better. But I also think that Red Bull also should take accountability for the fact that their second car sucks. I mean, and it's like been known for years that that car is not well suited for any driver. Sergio had a terrible time in it. Even years before Alex, Albon had a terrible time in it. So it's just the point of I don't think that they should just be throwing away drivers so easily. And then if we now take it to Alpine, which is essentially following Red Bull's bad behavior, they're throwing away a new driver as well. And I just don't agree with that. I think that that is it could very well mean the end of a rookie's career before they even had an F1 career. That's messed up.
Yeah, it is a messed up sport. It's not that I won't go on record to say it was a bad decision. It's more that I'll just wait and see the outcome because Red Bull has, as you said, Red Bull has been battling with that seat all the way back to Daniel Kvyat, to
Pierre
Alpine
Gasly
drive,
was in that seat
to
too.
to
Alex
Pierre
Albon was in
Gasly,
that seat.
Alex, exactly. So it has that second Red Bull seat has been uh a s I guess an undertaker. It literally puts your career to rest. However, Red Bull would be looking at it in a more technical standpoint because even when Perez was struggling, they were still winning the constructors, and that's what I guess would be important to them. So if they didn't win the constructors last season, but they won the drivers, so to them that's why I guess getting rid of Perez, then getting rid of Liam, now they're fighting with Yuki. It's because they need to win. If you're not winning the drivers, at least win the constructors. If you're not winning the constructors,
At
they
least with
want to
the
win the
drivers.
drivers. Yeah. So it would be very interesting. And again, I agree with you with the Alpine seat. It is pretty messed up for Jack. But F1 is a lot of politics. It comes with financial backings, and you know how it is. So it'd be very interesting to see how that decision goes. And I like Franco as well. I like Franco more than Jack. Sorry, Jack, but I'm rooting for Franco, and he finished P16 in his first race back. Um, Gasly finished P13. He had a crash in qualifying. Franco needs to work on that, else that decision will come back to haunt Alpine.
Well, isn't it true that Franco, I think he has 6 races on his contract. Like
Well,
there's some kind
it
of news that like they didn't sign him for the entire rest of the season. They signed him for a few races.
well he is the reserve driver for the entire season, just like how Jack doing is just he's just been demoted to reserve driver for the rest of the season. But I did see that report, and the interim head of Alpine, he clarified and said that that isn't the case, and that Franco doesn't he just doesn't have 6 races, and I guess they wanted to put that article or that news to rest
Was that
because it's
Flavio who
distracting.
said that?
I believe so.
Oh boy, a
I
criminal.
criminal. That's another
That's
topic.
another
That's another
topic.
that's another topic. What are some of the other highlights you would like to point out in the season so far?
I would like to, well, first, I'm going to check what the constructor point standings are right now so that I can
Okay.
be accurate in the message that I want to give. Okay, good. So I want to talk about Williams.
Okay.
Williams is doing something. They are producing magic. So the current team standings, right? We have McLaren, 279 points. That makes sense. Oscar and Lando have been at the front for every race. Then we got Mercedes, 147 points. That also makes sense because George has quietly been making his way into third for a few races. Red Bull has 131 points, Ferrari 114 points, and Williams has 51 points. So of the teams that they called like the mid-tier or the midfielders, William is leading like by far. Like they are 31 points ahead of Haas, even more ahead of Aston Martin. So, I just got to big up my Williams team because they're qualifying well. Carlos has been doing his thing, and I think he's had great satisfaction when he out qualifies Charles and or Lewis. So one of the things when Junior and I were watching the Imola race, I texted him and I was like, when we go to Montreal, I'm going to be in three different colors. I'm going to be in red for Ferrari. I want to be in papaya for Oscar primarily. And I want to be in my Williams blue because, I want to support them as well. So that's been a highlight for me is watching them go from, dirt last to really like giving the more competitive cars a run for their money.
Yeah, well, you gonna be looking like a rainbow
I
wearing all those
know.
colors. Yeah.
I gotta figure it out. I have to figure it out because
Yeah.
I need to tie in that Williams blue a little bit. Well, what I'm gonna have to do is race day, I'm gonna be in red for sure.
Okay.
Maybe qualifying, I'll show up in a blue hat.
I'm not wearing anything Williams. I'm sorry, but Williams is the fourth fastest team, right? Williams is no longer. Matter of fact, we might count Ferrari as a midfield team at this point
Might as well.
because because seven teams, seven teams. There's 10 teams on the grid. 7 teams qualified ahead of Ferrari. Let that sink in. Williams definitely could be on for one of the best finishes in a long time. A highlight of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And the last thing I'll say about Williams is if they finish off well, then that means that they get more money and they get more money to develop themselves next year. All right, Junior, let's move along to the next two races that are coming up that are going to round out the triple header. So we have Monaco, which you alluded to earlier, and then we have the Spanish Grand Prix. Grand? What do I say? I don't say Grand
Sorry?
Prix. I say Grand Prix. God, now I'm second guessing how to pronounce that word.
And I can't help you,
Grand Prix.
honestly.
Why does it sound so strange saying Grand? How do you pronounce it?
Grand
Grand
Prix.
Prix. What?
Oh no, I'm second guessing it now. Grand. This is definitely going in the intro of the video.
Wait, because I hate when this happens when like when you say a word and I'm like, wait, I don't think I pronounced it that way, and now I just can't remember how I pronounced the word.
Okay, so from now,
Grand Prix.
I'm going to be pronouncing it the Grand Prix.
Correct, Grand Prix.
Grand
But I
Prix,
just
yeah.
don't feel like that's how I used to pronounce it.
I'm just trying to song crafty voice in my head. Welcome back to the
They say
Grand
Grand Prix.
Prix. Yeah,
Yeah, they say
Grand Prix.
Grand
Okay.
Prix.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm gonna call it. Whatever. Jeez. What was I even saying? Okay, so we have Monaco, then Spain, and then Montreal, which we're actually going to be going to. So Monaco, of course, we want Charles to win. Home race, Prince of Monaco. It would be a lovely, lovely celebration. Do you think that's realistic right now?
Mm, um. Honestly,
No.
no. Yeah.
It took you
Ferrari,
a long time to say no.
because F1 is such a strange sport. One upgrade and you're back in it. So I'm not sure how many upgrades Ferrari or whoever is going to be coming with next like next race. Monaco is probably a horrible track to even, I guess, expect your upgrades to show its full potential. Unless you qualify in front, there will not be any significant overtaking in that race. So I think Charles repeating his win next week, next Sunday, that is probably unlikely. That'll be good to get some predictions. Oh, by the way, Lily, I have my F1 fantasy and there's this other F1 predict. So it's you compete against other players and you get like 10 questions every week and you lock in your predictions. We should start a league and we'll compete against each other. But
Wait, is it too late for me
I mean, it's
to
not too
join
late. No, it's not, but you'll just be way behind
in
because
like
you'll
points?
in points. Because there's this one time I missed the deadline to lock in, and you get, well, obviously you get 0 points for the weekend in the predictions, not the fantasy. But yeah, I think it's going to be a McLaren Red Bull battle again in Monaco, and we know how important.
McLaren Max battle?
Correction, that's a McLaren Max battle, and whoever qualifies in P1 will win the race. Hopefully next season with smaller cars and cars designed to follow each other better, we'll see more overtaking. And Monaco is just like Imola. It's a very narrow, it's a street circuit. So the walls are very close, no runoff area. Any mistake, you're in the wall. It is. Oh, also we forgot to mention that this might have been the last Imola race we see in a while.
Right.
And
They
it's
haven't
such,
renewed.
yeah, and we know the significance of Imola as a circuit in Formula One, the history, Ferrari, the factory is right there, the fans. And I think Monaco as well, because the fans have been calling for Monaco as a race itself to be dropped for another circuit. But again, the significance and the history behind the track, we'll see. What is your prediction?
For Monaco, I think that Oscar's going to win
Okay.
because, as you said, I think whoever qualifies the best, like
So
it's
you're
a bit
thinking, so you're saying that Oscar is going to qualify P1 and he's going to win. Yeah?
correct. The reason why I say that is because Oscar is not the type to make the same mistake twice. I feel like he studies and calculates, really considers the strategy. And I can see him not letting what Max did today happen in Monaco, where he gives Max a little room and then Max takes it and then runs off into the distance with a 20-second lead. So yeah, I'm gonna put my cards on the line for Oscar.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I think I agree with you.
Okay.
Um,
I just want to say one quick thing.
yeah.
Where's Lando? I know he's here, but like, where is he?
That's what I was going to like more
Where's
allude
he
to.
at?
I saw Lando again. Today was the first time I've ever seen Oscar look slightly defeated. In that cool long room, he was really contemplating that turn one move. Like Max came in the exact moment that when Max overtook Oscar in the first corner, Max was walking into the room and Oscar was just there with his hand on his head, slouching in the chair, looking. And Max was going to say something to him, but when Max realized that,
Nobody said a
oh,
word. It wasn't
until
until
Lando
Lando
came in,
came. Yeah, Lando came, took his helmet off, turned around, and then
so
that's when the conversation started.
and Oscar didn't really say much. So I think Oscar is definitely going to come back with a vengeance next race in
Yeah.
Monaco.
So this is my piece about Lando. And I want to give him so much grace because I did watch the latest season of Drive to Survive, and there was an episode where they covered like Lando's mental state and how he has been like taking, or at the time how he was like navigating through not winning any Grand Prix. So this, it was kind of like the moment before Miami for the 2024 season. And you could tell that like he was, it was clear that like he was cracking under pressure. It was affecting him. Also fighting with Max, who is his friend to this day, but also he has been compared to Max, and the comparison hasn't been the best. It's more so been like Lando doesn't have the fighting spirit that Max has. Or Lando doesn't have the aggression that Max has, and that's why he'll never be like a world champion. And I just think that like there could be some parts of those statements that are true. However, I just don't want to like continue the piling on Lando, because that just, it's just a sucky position for him to be in. But at the same time, like, you know the sport that you're in and you know how cutthroat it is, and there is an expectation to deliver every single race, especially when you are now currently in the fastest car. So that's why I like jokingly started off with the question of, I know Lando's here, but where is he? Because he's just not, I don't think that he is really like giving the aggression that he needs right now. Like, yes, he and Oscar are ahead in the constructors lineup, but that could very easily change. And it can't just be Oscar who's the one who's willing to like go toe to toe with Max and win and like, you know, come out more successful than Max. So, you know, I think I just had to say all that to say, Lando, I hope you find your peace. I hope you do some meditating, or I don't know, like if you need to throw some axes or if you need to like scream and shout, but I just need him to kind of unlock the fight. Like, I need the fighter to come back out. I feel like we saw a glimpse of it towards the end of the 2024 season. Not towards the end. Like in the 2024 season, he was fighting, but where's he been out for the beginning of this season? I gave my monologue.
I didn't really get to hear everything in your monologue because the internet has just been so
It was
trash.
so good.
I think I would be able to pick out. I think I heard you said Drive to Survive and Lando's State of Mind. For sure, probably. But you know how I feel about Drive to Survive and how they try to make everything into, I guess, such a entertainment and suspense. But I would probably, I agree in the sense like, where is Lando? Because do I have to change my prediction now for who's going to win the championship? I mean, look, the season is very young. We're not even halfway in the season as yet. Anything could change. So on any given Sunday, matter of fact,
Any given Sunday, what?
I'm a wheel that one back.
But this is like literally only two people will get it.
But on any Sunday, any team could be winning by 30 seconds. So also moving on to what would be the most exciting race for us this season. Montreal. We will be attending for the second year in a row. Lily,
Yeah.
excited?
I'm excited, and I want everybody to get on the prayer channel and ask for no rain. Or if there is rain, like maybe just rain at the start of the race. Because what I did not enjoy last year was how muddy it was getting to the grandstands. I didn't enjoy like putting on my raincoat, taking it off when the sun came out, putting it back on when the rain came. You know, they were just like, I felt like I put my raincoat on like 7 times during the actual race day because
Yeah,
it
but
was it was just off and on rain. It made for an
it
exciting
made for
race. I
such an
know.
exciting race.
I know.
We had like
Trust
5
me.
crashes
I
in
hear
front of
you.
us.
But I just feel like it's exciting. Yes, 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 yes. That's so true. But it just is incredibly inconvenient as a spectator.
For sure.
So that is why I would like for majority of the weekend to be sunny
Yes.
or partly cloudy. So that's just my message. Get on the prayer channel and let's send the message up. Chill out on the rain, please.
So we want to try Montreal GP this year.
I would like one for
Okay.
real. I know
Uh,
I know the rain races are actually more exciting.
but we want some
But
comfort
but
because we're
that's but we
attending.
would be watching it like for example, that iconic Brazil race last year, Sao Paulo, where it was rainy the entire weekend. They had qualifying and race on the same day. That was exciting to watch because we were at home. You understand what I'm saying? We were not in Sao Paulo
Yeah. For
standing up in the rain.
I want to watch a
So,
I want to watch the rainy races from the comfort of my living room, right?
correct.
But I can't wait. We will be attending quali and the race. Last year it was amazing. Hopefully, we can see some of our favorite drivers. Maybe get autograph. What are you thinking?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know how we're gonna finesse it, but
Lewis, we're gonna be coming to
we'll
that.
make it happen.
We're gonna be coming to that Four Seasons. Out, we're gonna be standing outside with our big Canadian flag.
Yes. And we will this year we will have a Sharpie.
Yes,
Okay? Because last year we had big dreams of seeing all kind of drivers, no Sharpie. No nothing to take an autograph with.
definitely looking forward to Montreal. In future episodes, we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail. Um, and of course, we'll have that special Montreal episode. So, is there anything else you want to touch on?
The only thing I want to touch on is that if you ever want to see our predictions or our recaps of races, you could always check out our TikTok. Our handle is Pole to Podium Podcast. We also post the same content on our Instagram, same handle, Pole to Podium Podcast. And we're even on Twitter, aka X. That handle is Pole to Podium Pod. So it ends in POD. So if you want to connect with us on socials, those are our main platforms.
Yep. Go ahead, guys, and follow and link up. I think we can end it here.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, had a siren in the background. That means it's time to go.
Yeah, for real. Listen, for a freestyle, this is pretty good.